Before we get into today's Celtics news and rumors on any given Thursday, Harrison Graham Chase Sr. with you. Make sure you guys subscribe, youtube.com/CelticsTV. I'm not going to lie, some other NBA channels are bringing the heat a little bit more than Celtics fans right now, so you got to subscribe, get live in the comments, and be like, hey, no, we want more videos. That's how it works here at Chat Sports. The videos that do better, the channels that are balling out, those are the videos we do channels for. So I'm challenging you guys to bring the heat. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll continue to plug out more content. All right, Chase, this is an interesting one. Could Boston trade for DeAaron Fox? Get us caught up on what Sam Ime had to say.
Yeah, really interesting because the Kings are off to another bad start, and it seemingly, we say this every single year, but they're 6-9 to start the season. Luke Walton has not gotten a vote of confidence from ownership. They said if this slide continues, he's going to get fired. And we knew going into the year that Luke Walton was going to be on the hot seat. But Sam Amick saying that the Kings have grown to be a little bit concerned about DeAaron Fox's fit next to Tyrese Halliburton. I love the selection of Tyrese Halliburton last year. You also have Donovan Mitchell, who won that national championship with Baylor, one of my favorite prospects from the 2021 NBA draft class, as maybe the future backcourt for Sacramento. What would that mean? That De'Aaron Fox could potentially be on the trading block and on the chopping block for Sacramento if they struggle and if they continue to just play bad basketball. His numbers are also down precipitously from last year, where he really emerged onto the scene as one of the best young point guards in the NBA. And a reason we're talking about De'Aaron Fox, Sam Amick basically indicating he could be had in a trade. And right now, Harrison, what is the biggest need on the Boston Celtics? Point guard. Now, with Fox struggling this year, could his value be going down just a bit, making him a little bit more gettable in a trade? Last year, a monster year, 25 points per game, 7 assists. He shot almost 48% from the floor, 32% from deep, which has to get better, and a pretty good defensive player because he's a quick twitch guy. This year, though, the points per game down from 25 to 20, the assists per game down by 1, the field goal percentage has gone down like it has for a lot of guys across the NBA because of the change of basketball and rules from almost 48 to 42, 3-point percentage, a putrid 24, still giving you about a steal and a half per game. But when I look at De'Aaron Fox, I don't think that he's damaged goods. This is what I do know. He'd be great for Boston. And I think that if the Celtics could have him in a trade, you got to start to explore it because they are bereft of a point guard presence right now. I don't like Marcus Smart and this experiment with him playing point guard. He's not a floor general. I don't like his vision. I don't like his passing ability. He's already been frustrated with his offensive role. Well, Marcus, you're not going to be the main offensive cog when you have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. De'Aaron Fox, I think, would open up a lot for the Celtics offensively. I'd be all in if I'm general manager Brad Stevens.
Yeah, I mean, De'Aaron Fox reminds me of like a much better Darren Collison in the sense that you could just run and gun with them, running point guard. I mean, you get him and Brown and Tatum on the wing, unless one of those guys would have to be involved in a trade. I'm not sure I would trade one of them for Fox. If you could get him without trading one of them, I think that would be tremendous with those three guys getting up and down the floor. The lack of point guard is a problem. We continue to talk about it. It's glaring at this point. Marcus Smart ain't it. Doesn't mean he's not a good player. It just means he is not a point guard. He never has been. I don't know why they paid him to be one. I think that is an error in judgment from Brad Stevens in this front office. You don't pay an energetic player almost $20 million a year and try to make him your full-time point guard when there's no evidence that he can be that. Can he play it in a pinch? Can he play it 5 to 7 minutes a game? Sure, but he's not a full-time point guard. Here's what Sam Amick had to say on De'Aaron Fox, quote, "No issue has been more glaring than the struggles of a franchise centerpiece, De'Aaron Fox, who has had a major decline in production. His comfort level in the starting lineup with Tyrese Halliburton is, it would seem, becoming an early concern." And that's troubling from Sacramento's side of things, Chase, because A, you drafted Halliburton, and he ain't going anywhere playing on that rookie contract. But B, you paid Fox. I mean, you paid him to be a centerpiece for that franchise. So if you're Sacramento and you think, well, if we trade him, Halliburton's numbers are just going to go up. We could get something for him. Might be something you consider on that side of things. So maybe a team like Boston, who is starving for a point guard, could get in the mix. Maybe they could trade Marcus Smart, a future couple of first-round picks or something like that to get him.
And it just didn't make sense, the approach that Boston had going into the offseason. we knew that they had a need at starting point guard, and they elected to go with Marcus Smart and pay him $75 million when he's never played point guard before. And then you look at the roster and you're like, well, we have Peyton Pritchard as a backup. Let's also bring in Dennis Schroder for $5.9 million. We're going to talk about Schroder coming up because he can be a point guard replacement. He's also playing really well, but I like him better coming off the bench or as a spot starter.
He's not really a floor general type.
No, and neither is Marcus Smart. That's my biggest issue.
Schroder's a combo.
You need a Rondo type of player. Now, DeAaron Fox isn't that. He's a lot flashier than a Marcus Smart or a Rondo. But I think that he would open up a lot of offensive opportunities. And for opposing defenses, imagine trying to plan for a team with Tatum, Brown, Fox.
Those are 3 elite athletes, all on the same side of the court. What would you guys give up for Fox? Send in your trade ideas down in the comment. I'm not trading Tatum or Brown for him, but would I trade Smart and 2 first-round picks for him? I might do it, man, because I know I'm getting a 20 to 23
Marcus Smart
point
goes
scorer.
from Boston to Sacramento.
Oh
boy.
God.
That's where careers go to die, folks. Sacramento.
Well, it's on life support, and you don't want to be in Sacramento if
No.
you're on life support. That is for sure. Let's transition here to Dennis Schroder, who we do want to give props to. The guy did lose $78 million, folks. Let's try and be a little bit nice to him. Hey, he's been a nice find for Boston. I've always loved him as a 6th man.
You think the Lakers would rather have Schroder than Russell Westbrook right now?
Yeah, because they'd have him at $21 million per year, which is what they offered him, and they would have saved about $20 million because Russ makes what, 42?
Yeah.
Yeah, brutal for the Lakers.
Hey, you know what's not brutal for the Celtics? It's paying Dennis Schroder $5.9 million so far to average 17 points per game, 5 dimes. He's shooting 44%. And he's never really been a lights-out three-point shooter, very streaky in that regard, shooting around 33% from beyond the arc. 15 games, 9 starts, and this is the perfect role that I envision for Dennis Schroder. He has competed for the NBA Sixth Man of the Year award in the past, but when you need him to start in a pinch, he can start and give you that little influx of energy. He's played well. Marcus Smart has not. And this is where we get back to that conversation of, do you trade for DeAaron Fox? Because you don't have that aforementioned point guard on the floor.
Yep.
You're paying Marcus Smart way too much money to turn in clunker after clunker, which is what he's done for Boston this year. Look, Marcus Smart as a cultural figure, great. Defensive player, very good. As a guy who is a bulldog, you want to be with him in a back alley. You don't want to play alongside him when he's chucking up bad shots, shooting 35% from the floor, 36% from distance, and just making dumb play after dumb play. That's what you don't want.
Those numbers ain't it. You know what even more so ain't it? Paying a glue guy almost $20 million a year.
Yeah.
You can't do it, man. I don't care how much you love the player. I don't care how much you love the guy and the energy he brings to your franchise. You can't pay guys that are just energy bunnies 4 years and $77 million. His last contract of 4 years and 52 or whatever it was, 13 a year, that feels about right when he's playing his best basketball. But I think almost, Chase, that contract gave him some sense of that he needs to be some bigger and better player within this offense. And it's like him chucking up more shots is not what the Celtics need. It's not good whatsoever. And now you're stuck with this contract unless you can move him for a piece like DeAaron Fox.
And the thing that annoys me is that he's going to complain about his offensive role when he is making plays that aren't winning plays, and it just doesn't translate to getting victories, which is what the Boston Celtics have not been able to string together. And I appreciate being a competitor. I appreciate being very passionate about the game. That's how Marcus Smart is wired. But you also have to have a little bit of an ego check, right? And understand that you're playing alongside Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. So if you have to sacrifice offensive shots and opportunities on that end of the floor, that's what you have to do. Put the ball in the hands of the elite playmakers. That's what Tatum and Brown are.
We're trying to be an elite channel here on YouTube. 10,000 is the goal ASAP. So if you want to help us get there, subscribe. It's youtube.com/CelticsTV. We're closing in on 8,000 subs. Help us get there, and as we continue to grow, we'll be able to plug out more videos.